In this video, we're going to take a look at how Postgres can store dates, times, times with time zones, and time stamps. Now, at present, we're just talking about storing these values. We're not talking about doing any calculation with them. For example, a calculation like finding the number of days that a date is in the future, or the difference in days between two dates. We're just talking about storing dates, that's it. So handling dates, Postgres is fantastically flexible. You can provide in a string just about any format of date you could possibly imagine, and Postgres is going to convert it into a fixed date value for you. Let's take a look at some different examples. I'm going to do a select, once again parentheses, and then inside of a set of single quotes, I'll add in about nov-20 1980, and then : date. If we then run that, you'll see that Postgres has automatically recognized the different components of that string right there and turned it into a date for us. So 1980, November 20th. So we can change this to be just about any format of date you could possibly imagine. We could do no dashes. Yep, that works. We could do nov-20, 1980. Yep, that works. We can do 1980, nov-20. Yep, that works. Do November. That works as well. So just about any format you could imagine, Postgres is going to figure out for you, convert it into a date, and store it. Besides just dates, we also have access to storing time. We can store a time without a time zone or a time with a time zone as well. We'll take a look at just without a time zone to get started with. So we could designate a time type or a type of time without time zone. They mean the exact same thing. We could then provide a time inside of a string. It can have an AM or PM designation. Doesn't have to. We could enter a 24-hour format time as well. And Postgres is going to convert it to a 24-hour time for us. Again, we could provide just about any format you can imagine. But when we're designating time, there's a much smaller set of formats than, for example, a date. So we could put in here something like, how about 0123, and we want to convert that to a time. Run that. Yep, there we go. It was recognized. We could put in 0123 p.m., and it will be converted into 24-hour time for us automatically. You'll notice that the type of this column is time without time zone. So again, time is an alias of time without time zone. It means we want to store a time, and we don't care anything about the time zone associated with it. To be really explicit, we could put it in time without time zone, and it means the exact same thing. We get the exact same result. In addition to just an hour and a minute value, we could of course also provide seconds on here as well. Now we got 13, 23, and 23 seconds. And I think you get the idea. In addition to just storing a time, we can also store a time with time zone. So that's the type right there, time with time zone. Any value you put in will be converted to the appropriate UTC value. So for example, if we specify 1:23 a.m. on the Eastern Standard Time, which is the time zone along the eastern coast of the United States, it will be converted into 0123 minus 05. The minus 05 right there indicates 5 hours behind UTC time. Let's try that out really quickly. I'll change this to about 0123 and 23 seconds AM EST, and then I'll change the type right here to time with time zone. Let's run that. Hey, looks like it works. We could put in other time zones as well. So how about EST, Pacific Standard Time, which is along the Pacific coast of the United States. If we want to indicate UTC time, we could put in a Z by itself. Now the offset is +0, or UTC. They both work just fine. All right, so that's times with time zones. Again, very flexible inputs. And then finally, a timestamp with or without a time zone attached to it. So once again, we can put in a string. It's very flexible, so we could put in a date with just about any format, and then a time and a time zone on there, and it'll be entered as some fixed format like so. So we could try that as well. I'll do, how about November 20th, 1980 at 1:23 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I want to store this as a time stamp with time zone. I'm going to run that, and there we go. So it was automatically converted into a date. We've got the time on there, and then the UTC offset as well. Okay, so the overall lesson here, entering times, dates, and timestamps, very flexible. You can enter in just about any combination you could possibly imagine, and Postgres is probably going to figure it out correctly for you. Now, Postgres has a lot of different functions or ways to work with times as well. So we can do calculations between different timestamps and try to figure out, say, some number of days or stuff like that. Let's take a look at some other examples in just a moment.